the day. We also, can you just indicate who has brought data with them? Has everybody, or I know some people hadn't. Okay. And have you had a chance to share any of that at all? Because realistically, we're only going to be able to work on 2 or maybe 3 if some of you work in a smaller group. So at some point, should we do that before or after?
I think we should. We've got coffee coming at 11.
Yeah.
We've got the Arts Theatre at 11.
Right.
And we've got an opportunity over coffee, possibly to do that, to share.
Okay.
Unless you want to formalise structure. Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure that we don't spend hours and hours deliberating over which group we get.
I think if everyone did 30 seconds, even now or later, rather than how is your coffee going? Some time about your research. We won't. I love to just.
You'll get into a conversation. Yeah.
Well,
what
let's do 30
everyone's
seconds
doing.
now then.
Okay, let's do 30 seconds, and then we'll kind of filter that process a little bit through your thing, and hopefully not lose anything spectacular. So who wants to start?
So this is separate from the data, but similar.
Separate to the data. This is the data.
So you can bring any.
If you didn't bring any, then yes. I mean, you can talk about
research interest.
Yeah, you can hear your research interest, but if you've actually brought something that you would quite like to work with a group on for the rest of the day, then elaborate. But those of you who haven't, just say a quick word about what you're doing anyway. Should we just go around? Yeah. You could.
I brought a couple of scripts, so it's not data in a sense, it's process data. I don't feel we need to work on it. But you might want to have a look at what I do once I've interviewed people who've, these 2 scripts I sent, one around, I've been working with people with stroke and then take their accumulated experiences and create verbatim monologues using their own words. So I'm particularly interested in mental health. That's really the brain is my big thing within the context of arts, education and health. So I'd love to mark in and help with other people's data, but do have a look at mine, which we put out.
Thanks, Arabella.
For me, I put a few notes what I have done in Japan 3 years ago. I performed there, and I got a problem because I performed as an announcer, and I asked for audience to participate with me by singing a song and leave the space for them to say hi. It's Japanese language. But they couldn't understand because they don't have English. So it's a problem that I had, so I know that in the paper, and I have the script of the songs that I try to perform with them.
I'm particularly on forming masculinities in dance. That's on capoeira, which is a Brazilian martial art cross with a dance, and Latin born dancing, which is the stuff you kind of should become dancing. I'm doing an ethnography, which is I've been participating in the dances, like learning the dances for like 4 years, and interviewing dancers and taking photos. Broadly, I find it quite funny because most of what Jack was saying I agree with, but I got all the same ideas that Jack was talking about from different sources. So,
ooh, good.
Well, no, it's just not showing off. So. I just found that quite amusing to myself. But I didn't bring any data, unfortunately, because I couldn't think of it.
The data I brought with me is not research as such. It's an interview transcript I brought from a case study that we were asked to do for an applied sports psychology module. The interview was with a mixed martial artist, and it's a fairly lengthy transcript, but there are some specific sections where he's talking about quite a profound experience that he had with his first, it's like full contact fighting, so he's talking about his experience with that. So
2 stories, 3 stories buildings. So what we are aiming in Bath is to improve the system and use some technological systems to develop some new materials and things like that made of bamboo. I brought some pictures of the work I've done and the things I want to do, so we can see some on the go time.
Why bamboo?
Why bamboo? There are many reasons behind. Some of them are quite in this moment, you know, that we are thinking about the environment and all the damage we are causing with the with the CO2 that we release into the atmosphere and things like that. So we got this material that captures CO2 better than the forest and than the timber. And it doesn't mean that we should change everything. Everything that we do with bamboo with timber for bamboo. But we can do better if we use bamboo, or at least in this. I'm more focused on Colombia and other countries that has the resource. It doesn't do too much sense to import bamboo from Colombia to build houses here, but it does sense if you do that back in the countries where you have the resource and where you can exploit it in a very appropriate way with the technology available and use these characteristics of bamboo to help the environment. And, there are many things to discuss that are behind it. Yeah.
A good conversation for later, I think. Caroline.
I'm looking at the use of narratives in the form of stories, dramas, even radio, media narratives in affecting behavior change along health. And I'm looking at it from the perspective that it could be that these narratives are not capturing enough of the, let's say, contextual beings of the people, and probably that's why it doesn't have much effect on them. So I'm looking at ways of making the narratives as used in health communication to be more of culture-centered around the people's beings, the people's real embodied beings, so that it will be more effective in transformative learning along health.
Have you brought any data?
Oh, sorry, I haven't got data yet. I'm just in my first year of my PhD, and I haven't gone for my data collection.
Okay, thanks.
I do have some data. It's an interview transcript with a girl. We're talking about how she feels that. I had to find out the age of the girl and what year she was in at school, but I have a few transcripts which are very short, and they're kind of they really do set a scene. I could read one out to you now if you want, or we'll wait later.
Yeah. Yes.
It's based on obesity and surveillance on the body in schools, and school children talking about their experiences of their body image, usually at a crucial time when they're reaching adolescence and their body shapes are changing. So it would be quite interesting maybe to even work with one of you if they would be interested. It's very useful for me.
I haven't got any data with me, unfortunately, but at the moment I'm doing my dissertation for my master's, and I'm thinking about a commitment to physical exercise, physical activity and sport. So for me, there seems to be a bit of a gap between, so we have sports psychology, which is very much talking about elite athletes, working with elite athletes. And then on the other hand, we have exercise psychology, which is kind of about getting the population moving and getting them exercising to improve their physical and mental health. But there seems to be this gap of people who actually are very committed to sport and exercise, but yet they still have full-time jobs and they have other things going on in their lives. And why are they committed to these sports? Why do they put so much into them? Why do they enjoy them? Keep doing them?
My research, the PhD, is on how first-year undergraduates use social networking sites like Facebook and Twitter and video as they come into university. Mainly like how they form community and social bonding processes. So I'm doing ethnographic type research and did a couple of discourse analyses on, that's the data I brought with me today, just the raw transcripts of students talking about how they've used Facebook, but more exciting things in it is actually the narrative of how they are transitioning into university rather than Facebook stuff, which might be more relevant. But I brought 2 transcripts, they're quite long, so just one of the ideas to think that might be useful.
I do many things, mostly avoid doing my PhD.
How long have you been doing?
Pass. My interests really revolve around fundamentally learning or education, and there might be a difference in that for me, but theatre and health, all of those things combined, and about how they're connected. I'm really interested in how people connect with all those things and how those things connect to what we have naturally. So I'm interested in how people disconnect as well as how people can connect, and how the arts can help people connect, but how they can also, to some extent, disconnect them from who they are. Who am I? Yeah. And it's part of my journey because that's reflected and it's mirrored in terms of who I am. So really, I'm interested in myself.
What a surprise!
What a surprise! Yeah. But I'm also interested. Yeah, that's not fair. I'm also interested in other people. I'm interested. I'm a very compassionate person. Although you might not think it. I might frighten a lot of people. But I do like to connect, and I do like to see what I can do through the arts to help people connect with themselves, but also with me, because I'm really interested in how that relational dynamic is formed and how it maintains, sustains, or dissolves itself. Because I think a lot depends on that, especially in the world of art, the world of education, and the world of health, which is mostly about disconnect rather than connect a lot of the time, I think.
Grab a chair. We won't say, oh, he's late, isn't he? We wouldn't say that at all, would we?
I was just about to say that. You're late. That's true.
You'll pick up what we're doing. Rick.
I'm researching to improve my practice. I'm a senior educational psychologist within a local authority, and I coordinate and develop a program, what we've called APEX, which is developing inclusive understandings of talents, knowledge and gifts. So everybody is capable of developing talents, knowledge, and offering those as gifts to others. And I think that we can actually let that process grow. And we'll live a lot happier lives, and it'll be a better world. And actually expressing those life-learning values in what it is that we're doing. I think that's where our satisfaction comes from, the sense that a lot of you are actually doing. You're excited about your own research, not just because it ticks the box and you get a PhD after your name, but because it actually says something about you, where you are at the moment, what it is that you're wanting to do. So my practice is concerned with how can I actually open up those enhance relationships, the space, the opportunities for children and young people to actually come into their own presence, so they come more into the presence of the world. So how do we actually help them develop their talents, create their knowledge of the world, of themselves, knowledge of themselves in and of the world, that relational dynamic, and offer that as a gift, freely offered, rather than expecting a response. So, is that saying?
Have you brought any data with you?
Well, I've got a screenshot of one of the websites that I've been working on, trying to run those courses.
Okay, thank you. Edward, just your research. We're just doing 30 minutes about what research is. Thank you. 30 minutes about what research you're doing, whether you brought any data that you want to work on with your information today.
Sure. So I'm a student in the mechanical engineering department, but of course supervised by management, which means I do cross-disciplinary PhD in virtual teams, and I'm investigating whether teams of people that are based in different locations can attain high degrees of creativity. So that's my topic.
And have you brought any data with you?
I do have it here.
Okay. So, from just in quick summary, I suppose I have to say what research I'm doing. I am still interested in the transformational potential of engaging in creative activity, and in particular theatre, and particularly within health contexts, and looking at both how that process can help with the whole system. So, looking at traditional ways of redesigning services for older people, for instance, to improve and enhance their quality of life, the way that we normally do it, and what's the difference if we took a very creative process of that. So that's one of the bits of my PhD was about that. So looking at working creatively with teams, health teams, senior decision makers, and linking that to, at each point during the research process, how you can take that in a much more creative approach to that, both in how you undertake your research, how you communicate the research, how you might then say, okay, is there a way of taking some assertive outreach that's evidence-based theatre practice perhaps, or singing, or whatever people's interest is, but also looking at how, and we've come across some amazing projects where, people with enduring mental health problems have joined a choir, and they're reducing their medication, it's really acted as a bridge, an inclusional bridge into them coming back into leading full and meaningful lives that they've decided is full, not being in position. So there's lots of stuff like that going on, and part of my mission, I suppose, over the past few years is to say, look at this, DH decision makers, we don't just need drugs, we need the access to what is, after all, a human right, because it says so in WHO, that it is a human right to engage in the creative activity of whatever community you're in, and that might be a hospital, it might be a nursing home, it might be a prison, it might be same thing. Okay. So just to sum up, we've got your data, your data, your data, your data, and you want people to look at yours.
But it's already
but it's been through that process. Yeah. So there are 4 potential projects there. So what you can do over coffee is decide. We're going to do it completely. Decide which.
Decide an approach, can't you? You can decide an approach if you want.
So if after coffee you've decided which group you're working in, and it may be that, as I say, there are 2 groups, but there might be 3. And don't feel rejected if people are more interested in it's just part of the process. It doesn't mean your research isn't interested.
Well, I think it's essentially connections between all of them, to tell you the truth. So
there is, absolutely. And it may be that 2 of you say, actually our data is quite, we've got quite a lot of similarities here. So let's go together and invite other people to come in.
Or, even if there's no evident and obvious similarities, there might be.
Yeah.
So,
because you can go through a very creative process, hopefully, and what you're not going to do, well, you might do, but I imagine that what you'll move away from just doing a reenactment of what your interview is. I mean, that might be, so really delve into it. But.
If what we're doing is making interpretations, is that right, of the material we've been given from these people?
Yeah, what you're doing is exploring the the things that we've tried and tested, even though you've only had a little step into that world. So we're not expecting Oscar nominations at the end of the day. We just want you to say, okay, let's be a little bit bold about this and thinking about, what we've been talking about embodied knowledge and that sort of thing. How could you use a bit of your data? Which bit would that be? And how could you do something creative with it? And it doesn't matter if it isn't, absolutely.
It will provide more questions and answers. Definitely. Yeah.
And these are the questions you need to ask each other in your group. Because what we want to do is not to impose our ideas on you or our interpretations. It's actually about giving you an opportunity to bring some of yourselves to this process. And just see how far you get today. It should be fun, it should be interesting. You should be able to take some of the things that we've learned and say, well, okay, that sentence is really interesting. So let's just play about with it. What would that mean? Or what happened before that? What did they do last night? Or they might talk about something and think, I wonder what it was like to be part of that. So you might do some improvisation around that, and just see if it enhances your understanding. And brings in some of the other stuff, so that we're filtering in, I suppose, rather than filtering out. And it's experimental. It's in this context. Okay.
Yeah, and don't forget there are parallels here. Well, I keep saying this, and I don't know if it's hitting home. It is for me because I keep saying it. But there are lots of things that we're learning here, not just about art forms and content and skills and everything else, but as research in terms of what we do, the connections that happen between them and our own learning and ourselves and who we are within that. So I've just described 3 very distinct parallels here, but there are connections between all of them through our experience that we've had yesterday and hopefully that we'll have today too. And that makes things much more complex and multidimensional. And isn't it fantastic?
Absolutely. And we're pushing you very quickly. You would never have to make this decision in 5 minutes. So bear that in mind. It may not. You may think yes again. Actually, I would have rather worked in that group.
Or if we're going too fast, or you want to say, whoa, slow down. We will slow down.
Yeah.
Okay. Happy to do that.
So what we're going to do now is grab some refreshments, have some time to talk to each other, and then are we going over to the theatre? Yeah, we'll do a warm-up up there just to get you back into your bodies again and have a little bit of fun, and then